Good afternoon. I'm Tim Carter. This is Ask the Builder, and we're live. And I'm alone. One of the great little features, you probably see it on your screen too. I get to see how many people are here. And you can tell it's a Friday and everybody's worn out. Everybody's done. Everybody's cooked. They're, they stick the fork in it. They're done. Here's somebody. And and it just Friday for a lot of people, uh their brain is just like, I'm done, I'm over. And my son told me that he's a pretty progressive guy, and we don't see eye to eye on everything, but we have very respectful conversations, and I love him because of that. He says that there's all kinds of studies, hi Lorraine, um, that point to the fact that 32-hour work week is much better. That in actuality, the productivity is higher and all that. I've never read any of the studies. Um, I, you know, I don't know. My problem is I've worked 12 to 16 hours too many days in my life. I mean, many, many, many days. And so an 8-hour work day for me that'd be like a vacation. Okay, in just a minute, we're going to talk about painting. Can you paint vinyl siding? Can you paint vinyl siding? Guess what? The answer is yes. I want to go over a little housekeeping first. If you have just tuned in for the first time, and you have a YouTube account, then you're able to ask any question you want in the chat. And I mean any question. It doesn't have to be about the topic of the live stream. If you have some other problem with your home, feel free to ask it. That's why I do the live streams. I only come up with a main topic to have something to talk about right away, and that's other than that, I could talk about anything. So remember, you can type a question. If you don't have a YouTube account, if you're watching the live stream and you don't have a YouTube account, you're not going to be able to type into the chat. Okay. Painting vinyl siding. Can you paint vinyl siding? Yes. So I have a saying that I adopted about 8 years ago from a fellow ham radio operator. He's actually a pretty smart guy, but he's got very little experience on the air. But he has a saying called "the power is in the question." And if you just ask the question, "Can you paint vinyl siding?" Why, the answer is the answer is yes. Yes, you can paint vinyl siding. You might also say, can I paint? I know this sounds crazy. Can I paint my underwear? Well, of course you can. If you want to paint your underwear, go ahead. The better question probably would be, if I'm able to paint vinyl siding, how do you do it so the paint sticks on the vinyl siding? That's the question. Let's talk about it. The good news, first of all, the good news is yes, you can paint vinyl siding. And even the better news is, if you do it the right way, the paint can last a very long time, and it probably is not going to peel off. Here are the problems right off the bat. The vinyl siding, you may not realize this. I doubt the average person realizes this at all. But vinyl siding has a very, very high expansion contraction coefficient. And if you paid attention in high school physics, you know what I'm talking about. Meaning, when something heats up, certain things can expand much more so than others. And vinyl siding happens to be one of those things. When it goes from just 70 degrees to even just 140 degrees, I mean, it could expand a lot. I mean, a 10-foot piece of vinyl siding might expand 3/8 of an inch. That's a huge amount of expansion in that short distance. That also means it contracts. So in other words, here you've got the vinyl siding acting like an accordion, the musical instrument that a person squeezes, and so it's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It does that twice a day. And if that siding, for example, if you're here in the northern hemisphere, if you're watching here above the equator, and the walls that face south and east and west, wow, they are moving a lot, because they're getting a lot of sun. What does this have to do with the paint? It has everything to do with the paint, because paint, you have to understand this about paint. A lot of people don't know this. All that paint is, it's just glue that has got color in it. I mean, think about it. In other words, if you take some yellow carpenter's glue and you just you smear it on, I don't know, take a nice piece of wood, a scrap piece of lumber, get any dust off, take a little bit of carpenter's glue, like a little dot, and put it on, and kind of spread it out just a little bit, not too thin, and let it dry. Guess what? It looks like paint. And it'll take your fingernail. You might not be able to get it off even with your fingernail. If you were to look at the chemical formula of a vinyl acetate paint, so you have to also understand that paint, not all paint is the same. It varies widely with respect to the glue component of the paint. But if you were to take the cheapest paint, like if you were to go to the big orange box store or the blue one here in America, I really don't like to say their names, and you buy their cheapest paint and you look at the label, it'll probably say it's vinyl acetate. All right, that's the absolute cheapest paint. So that's basically what carpenter's glue is. The chemical formula of vinyl acetate paint and carpenter's glue is almost identical. Not the same, but they're very, very close. You can buy acrylic paint. Acrylic is an adhesive. It's got a little bit more flexibility. Urethane paint is by far the stickiest. But what you have to do is you have to buy a paint that has the maximum amount of expansion contraction capability. That's not always on the label. You also can contact paint manufacturers, like the big ones, like Sherwin-Williams, some of the other ones, and specifically look to see if they sell a paint that is specifically formulated to work with vinyl siding. In other words, and the last thing you want to do is don't, for the love of God, for the love of God, do not ask the lowest paid employee at the orange or blue store or the paint store this question. Do not say, is this a good paint for vinyl siding? What do you think they're going to say? Do you think they've got a chemistry degree? Oh, in other words, you need to actually get it in writing. And believe me, you'll be able to find some paints that are formulated for vinyl siding. Now, you have one other problem. It's all about the color. And you really, really want to avoid dark colors on vinyl siding, because the darker the color is, the more heat it's going to absorb from the sun, which is going to make the whole expansion contraction issue worse. That's why many, many vinyl sidings that you see out there, think about this. Many vinyl sidings are light colors, light pastels, light grays. They're not, you don't see these very deep, dark colors in vinyl siding. That's for a reason. You just don't want to be painting your house with a really dark color. Here's the other thing you need to do. Here's what I would highly recommend. But most people don't have the patience for this. They really don't. The first thing you have to do is you need to clean the vinyl siding really well. I mean, and I would recommend you use this. All right. So we make this product. It's called Stain Solver. It's a certified organic oxygen bleach. All right. It's an incredible cleaner. And it's so strong that it will help you get off any of the sun damaged resins that are part of the vinyl siding. I put up in the chat a a link to the column I've written about this topic, and I just put the link there again. Go there and look at that photo. Look at the photo right at the top of the column, because that is some really heavily faded vinyl siding. And the resin particles are just kind of hanging on. So you got to get all that off of there. It's the best analogy would be if it was a hot summer day, you're perspiring, you've been working out in the garden, you're dirty, you're sweaty, you're oily, and your significant other says, "Hey, let's go to dinner." You don't run into the house and just change your clothes and walk out the door. Of course not. You take a shower and you take soap and you rub your skin. You rub your skin with the soap and water and you rinse off. That's how you get clean. Then you're going to get dressed in the clean clothes. So the paint is the clothes and the vinyl siding is the body. All right. So you do not want to just put the paint right on the right on the siding without making sure it's perfectly clean. And then you got to be careful when you paint. In other words, it's really important when you paint vinyl siding, you have to paint it when it's cool. I would never paint vinyl siding on a sunny day. Never, ever, never. I would want it to be heavily overcast. And if you really had your druthers, you would want to paint it in the shade. You would want to wait until after the sun hit the siding. The siding is now in the shade. Then you can paint the siding, and it'll have all night long to start to cure and harden. The last thing you want to do is paint some of this vinyl siding and an hour later the sun get on it. That would be a recipe for disaster. Here's the test you should really do. I would go to a part of the house, like the part of the house that you rarely see, and hopefully it gets a little sun on it. It might be a side yard. Just about everybody's house has, for example, here in my home, the north side of my house, I rarely look at it. I mean, I rarely go to the north end of my house. I just don't go there. That's the place where I would test and put some paint on. And I would want to see how it all works. Put it on, come back a month later, just paint a small section. Even if you just get a quart of the paint and just paint a very small section. And then come back a month later with your fingernail and see if you can scrape it off. If you can scrape it off easily with your fingernail, you got problems. If you go to that column that I just put up in the chat, it's there right now. I tell you the exact paint that I would use. I have a link to it. So I would just go there and get that paint, see if you can get a quart of that paint. But that's basically it for painting vinyl siding. The answer is yes, it can be done. There are a lot of steps you have to do to make sure you have victory, make sure you have success. And this is my buddy Jim calling. Hold on a second. This is pretty important. I'll be right back. Hey, listen to me. I'm live streaming video right now, so I'm going to call you back when I'm done, okay? Is that okay? Okay, I'll call you back shortly. All right, see you. Bye. I'm trying to hang up. All right, there we go. That was my friend Jim. He doesn't call me that often, so I didn't want to ignore his call. He's very impatient. If you have any questions about anything, put it in the chat. You're driving the bus today. I put it up. It's one of my first comments. I'm kind of tired too. I'll tell you what I did earlier today. But if I don't get any questions, I'm going to close the stream down. I'm not going to sit here and babble for an hour about nothing. I'm not going to do it. So it's up to you. If you want me to stick around here, I need you to put questions in the chat. And it can be anything about your home. I really don't care. It could be a plumbing problem, a roofing problem, concrete problem, hardwood floor problem. Emily this morning had some cracks in her hardwood flooring. She wondered what was going on. I don't care what the problem is. Just let me know. All right, Wayne. Now you're talking. I know. I should have worn my flippin' orange shirt. Can you believe that? Wayne says, hello, Wayne. How would you paint an aluminum canopy over a door on the north side? Oh, my gosh. Wayne, you have come to the right place, buddy. This is another great teaching moment. Whenever you have a question, Wayne, I've just gone to my website. I'm pulling up, excuse me. I am pulling up something for you right here. Whenever you have a question, Wayne, I want you to just immediately go to askthebuilder.com, and right on the homepage is a search engine. And in your case, all you would have typed in because a canopy is just like siding, just put in paint. Well, actually, all you should have put in was just paint aluminum. Type that into the search engine. If you would have done that, here's what you would have found. This is one of the top columns in the search results. There it is. Yes. All right. So it's the same process. You're going to clean the aluminum canopy. You're going to wash it really well. You're going to scrub it with a scrub brush. You're going to get it perfectly clean. It's got to be perfectly clean. I'd use the stain solver. You're going to make sure it's dry. The key to painting aluminum is you have to find an oil-based primer. I don't care what anybody else says. Some latex paints have got ammonia in it, and you'll never know that on the label. They won't put it. And if there is oxidized aluminum where the paint has kind of worn through, the ammonia in the latex paint reacts with the aluminum and it creates a bubble, and your paint will bubble. So you don't want to take that chance. So you don't want to put the first paint that you put on the aluminum, you do not want it to be latex, water-based. It's got to be oil-based. So find an oil-based primer. They still are made. You can find them online. You can find them on Amazon. Get them. Paint it with a primer, an oil-based primer. Like I think even Rust-Oleum makes one. Rust-Oleum makes, like a rusty metal primer. I'm almost positive it's oil-based. And then once that dries, the next day, then you can paint the canopy with whatever paint you want. But once again, in the column that I just put in there, I'd show you the paint that I would use. Kills, I don't know. Some Kills is water-based. And some Kills, I'm just telling you, get an oil-based primer. Go get oil-based. In other words, in the old days, we used to have. In fact, in the old days, that's all paint was. It was oil-based. In other words, the vehicle and the paint was mineral spirits, and then they added solids and they added the pigment, and that's why most painters, old painters, were loony, because they're in a room all damn day with all these hydrocarbon fumes. And then 60 or so years ago, maybe 70 years ago, they invented water-based paint, which took a lot of that away. But oil, there's a lot of advantages to using oil paint, a lot of advantages. So you can find oil. Just go to Amazon right now. Go to Amazon and type in oil-based house paint. You'll find it. It's easy. All right, I hope that answers your question. But the answer is yes, you can paint aluminum with great results. I mean, an aluminum doesn't have all those problems that vinyl has. It has some expansion contraction issues, but not to the degree that vinyl does. And aluminum will really hold the paint well. If you do all the prep work right, if you get it really clean, I mean, literally wash it with soap and water, just like you'd wash your car with a sponge or an RV brush, rinse it off, make sure that it's perfectly clean. And then same thing, you want to paint it in the shade. You got to use that oil-based primer. And then you want to, and here's another trick that a lot of people don't know. You don't want to prime it and then wait a week to paint. You want to put the primer on, and then you want to paint the finished coat the next morning. The sooner you get the finish paint on the primer, the better bond you're going to get between the two paints. All right, I hope that answers your question. You're welcome, Wayne. Let us know how it comes out. I would love for you to take some before photos of it, a during photo, maybe, take some great photos. And then I'd love to put it on the website to help other people. Let me use your photos with your permission. All right, Frederick. What would you do with small holes in siding after a hailstorm? Insurance only covered the roof. You didn't tell me what type of siding it is. I'm going to assume that it's vinyl. If it's vinyl, I, I don't know how you'd ever fix those. I mean, I'm serious. I just don't. I can't even imagine fixing them because there's nothing behind it. Yes, okay, bingo, vinyl siding. I know I've never done it before, all right, because I can't even imagine how to do it. Because it's hollow behind it, and because the vinyl is so thin. It's like, how are you going to put a backing on it, and then the vinyl siding moves? You've got a nightmare. I don't know who you've got for an insurance company, but you need a new one because I cannot. I can't even imagine an insurance company saying, nope, we're not paying that claim. I can't even imagine it. I mean, you've got my interest up. I'm going to call my insurance company on Monday and ask about. I'll write a note down to myself if I can get my pen working, my pen to siding. Because seriously, I cannot even imagine an insurance company. So I would, what I would do is I would get out your policy and read it. Read it and find out where it specifically says we do not cover hail damage to siding. I doubt you're going to find that. I think you're getting yanked around by the insurance adjuster. Look who's here, Mr. Trash Talker. Report back to us too, Frederick. I seriously, let us know what your insurance people say, because I'm here to tell you, they're yanking your chain. There's just no way that policy says we'll replace your roof, but we're not doing the siding. There's no way. Lorene says, yeah, they got their siding replaced, and Alex is Alex is here, and Alex is a victim of hope. He hopes that the Rams are going to win this Sunday in the Super Bowl because he's been dreaming all week of eating a picante. And anyway, all right. Oh, that's a great question, Alex. Okay, you're welcome, Frederick. But seriously, you need to this weekend get out your policy and read it. Most house insurance policies they're pretty easy to read. They're not complex, and they actually typically have a section up front where they say these are the things we're not covering. Like, this is what we do not cover. For example, like it might say we do not cover damage caused by floods. We do not cover damage caused by whatever. And so, if in that section you don't see where it says we don't cover hail damage to vinyl siding, if you don't see that, then that generally means that the rest of the policy means you're covered. Alex wants to know, speaking of siding, which is one of your favorites to use? How do you feel about hardy versus cedar? I am a big fan of the fiber cement siding. I have it on my own home here in New Hampshire. I built a shed up on the hill there, Alex. I'm looking right at it. Back about 7 or 8 years ago, that it matches the house perfectly. It's like a miniature version of the house. And I used fiber cement on that. One of the things I like about fiber cement, and I know it's attractive for you out in California, is fireproof. It holds paint so well because the fiber cement does not expand and contract. Cedar, most wood sidings are just maintenance nightmares, as you well know. Now, I say that, but out where you are in Los Angeles, because you get so little rain, you don't have the problems that a lot of the other people in the United States have with paint and wood. Any place that gets over 20 inches of rain a year, or like back where I was in Cincinnati, we would typically get 36 inches a year. Any place where you get a lot of rain or you're getting rain every month, and that's what happens. We get rain every month here in New Hampshire. It's just rain and wood and paint don't play well together. But rain and paint and fiber cement play really well together. I have my house here is 20. Let's see, it would be 22 years old right now. There's not one place on the house on the fiber cement siding where the paint is peeling or where the paint is blistered. I like the fiber cement siding also because you can blind nail it. I find that very attractive. So you nail it up high, and then the next piece of lap siding covers that nail, so you don't see any nails anywhere. I like that a lot. I'm also a big fan. I know this sounds crazy. I saw this about 3 years ago. Certainteed. I'm almost sure it's Certainteed. Yes, I think it's called Cedar Impressions. Certainteed makes a shake shingle. In other words, you can buy like panels of vinyl that look like cedar shakes, but Certainteed actually makes individual cedar shakes, just like traditional cedar shakes, but they kind of interlock. And I went to visit a job site up in Bar Harbor 3 years ago, a new house that they use with these. And that up there, because they're next to the ocean, it's a very classical look where they will take cedar and they just let it weather naturally. It's that gray. I know you've seen photographs of this in magazines, just like an old fishing shack. And so Certainty decided, you know what, they're going to crack into that market up there, up in the Northeast, with this product that looks just like it, but it's maintenance free. And I'm telling you, we're coming down the driveway and I'm going, boy, I was just wondering, I thought, how did they pre-age that cedar to look that way? I mean, it looks so good. I'm walking up to the house and I'm still like 10, 12 feet away, and I've got a pretty good eye. And I'm going, man, that is really good wood siding. I mean, it's beautiful, but it wasn't, it's vinyl. So give that a look. But I don't know that you can use that out in LA. I mean, because it gets so damn hot, and also the fire issue. It might not be, I don't know what your codes are out there with all those brush fires and all that. I mean, you might not be allowed to use it. I don't know. All right, here we go. A lot of installers failed to put a rain screen detail behind. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you and I both know this. You're a contractor out there. It's just maddening because so many of the subcontractors, they don't even bother to read instructions. They don't look to see how you're supposed to install whatever it might be, and that's the problem. So anyway, so those fiber cement, and what's happened is I've gotten older. Boy, I'll tell you what, I really, I didn't quite understand it as a contractor. I'll be honest with you, about how some people were really looking for maintenance free. And I always thought I equated that maintenance free attitude to, I don't want to say laziness. I don't want to say that, because I've always been really self-sufficient. But now that I'm where I'm at with all this white hair, and I don't have as much as I'd like to have, boy, do I understand maintenance free. For example, like you would never, ever, ever get me to go back to have a wood deck. Never. No flipping way. But when I was younger, I didn't think anything of cleaning a deck and spending all weekend staining it again. I thought, oh, okay. What's so hard about that? Yeah, well, wait till you're 70 years old. You'll see. Okay. Orville. What is the process for finishing 100% clear silicone? It is so smeary and messy, or is there a better product that is mold preventing? Orville, I don't know I don't really understand your question. I'm sorry. I don't understand when you say, what is the process for finishing? To me, finishing means putting something over it. I think what you might mean is, how do you apply silicone caulk so that you get a really beautiful bead that's not smeared and it's tooled and it looks really great. I think that's what you're asking. And as far as mold, I'll talk about that. Mold, if you want to stop mold, you just have to keep things clean, because what happens is the surfaces that get mold growing on them, they're getting the things. There's all kinds of things. It could be dust. It could be aerosols from deciduous trees. It could be somebody splattered a bottle of Coke or Pepsi on a wall, whatever. But there's food that's there for the mold. And then if it gets wet, and the mold spores are there too. So in other words, the mold spores float down onto the caulk. The food floats down onto the caulk. The caulk might actually have food in it. And then the only missing ingredient is water. As soon as you have food, mold spores, and water, it starts to grow. So if you don't want mold, so it's impossible. It's really hard to stop the water. It's really impossible to stop the mold spores because they're everywhere all day long. Your whole body, everybody, everywhere. Alex, me, Lorraine, Will, everybody, Steve over in London. So, like right here, right where I'm at in my man cave. I don't know, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 mold spores are in here. They're everywhere. They're floating in the air. They're laying on the table here. So if I just put some water on my windowsill right there, within 3 days, I'm going to have mold growing. So the way to stop mold, keep things clean. All right. So you meant how to apply. I have not only do I have great columns on my website on how to apply caulk, and I have great videos there too. So the trick with silicone is you have to have mineral spirits. Look at the label on the caulk before you start to use it. It will have how to clean up. All right, it'll always have a thing. And generally speaking, it will say mineral spirits that you clean up with. That's how you get it off your fingers. The trouble is, Orville, is most people do your best, caulk the rest. That's exactly what I would expect from an LA contractor. That's what the Rams are going to be doing on Sunday. They're going to do their best, and then they might have cases of caulking that they're going to try to fill gaps with where the Bengal receivers get through. All right, Orville, I got to get back on because Alex and I are doing a little trash talking here. And Alex will jump in here because Alex is a contractor in LA. The trick with working with silicone is you have to be really careful on the size of the hole that you cut at the end of the tube. You want the hole to be just a tiny bit bigger than the size of the crack that you're caulking. That's step one. Step two is you've got to be using the right caulk gun. Don't buy those cheap $3 or $4 caulk guns. You have to buy the $20 or $25 one. I have two of them here, the really good ones here in my garage. And these caulk guns, how's the best way to describe it? It's like driving an old-fashioned 4-speed transmission. My caulk guns only have like speed 1, like gear 1 and 2. The cheap caulk guns have like gear 3 and 4. So when you squeeze the cheap caulk guns, the piston, the ram goes really far. When you squeeze my caulk gun, the ram just goes a little bit. It doesn't go very far. So not much caulk comes out. So I have great control when I caulk. So when you caulk with silicone, you do not want a bunch of excess. You want to be able so that when you take your finger across that caulk seam, you just get the beautiful concave joint with no excess coming out past either side of your finger. Simple as that. That's how you do it. Now, if you don't know how to do that, you have to practice. What I would recommend is get 2 pieces of wood, nail them together, create a crack, and practice, like caulk 2, 3, 4, 5 feet until you figure out how to do it. And then go caulk what you need to caulk. Simple as that. Great questions, by the way. All great questions. Any other questions? I don't want to say last call, but I am here to answer your questions. There's David's. Hi, David. If you've got a question, now's the time to ask it. Orville is in Ohio. Go Bengals is right. After the game, Joe Burrow is going to be, having the LA Rams quarterback on his shoulders. It's going to be a great game, I think. Actually, it's going to be a good game. We're going to have a great Super Bowl party here at the Carter House. I can tell you that. All right. So any other questions? I'll tell you what I did this while I'm waiting for a question to come in. I will tell you what I did. I kind of took the day off. I needed it. It was a wonderful day here in New Hampshire. Very rare. Okay. So what's the date? Look at this. February 11th. February 11th. A typical New Hampshire day here. If you look at our weather almanac, I don't know. It might get up to 15 degrees. Like tonight, it could be -5, -8. That would be a typical February 11th day. Our coldest month is January, but we're only 11 days past January, so it's still really cold, February. Today, just a couple hours ago, it's 48 degrees. Beautiful, sunny. And I knew it was coming. They had pretty good forecasting on this. And I went out, I went to Lake Sunapee State Park. I have never been there before. It's the crow flies. I think it's about 30 miles west of me, maybe a little bit more, but driving it, there's no such thing as straight roads in New Hampshire. We got so many hills and mountains around. The roads are always like this. All right. So, it's not like LA where Alex lives, where it's a lot of places where it's really pretty flat and they can put a road anywhere they want, I'll answer that question in a minute, Will. So today I decided to do some outdoor ham radio with a buddy of mine, Dave Benson. Dave is, he's an icon in the industry. He is the founder of the Small Wonders Lab. He's an electrical engineer, and he was the guy. Here we go. I know this is going to sound crazy. So you know what this is, an Altoids, tin, the Altoids mints in it. Well, anyway, once you are finished with this, imagine if I told you that you could put a radio in it. I'm not kidding, a radio. All right. So Dave Benson invented that radio. It's called the Rockmite, Rockmite. Look it up, Rockmite. And he's super nice guy. He's been doing Morse code, I don't know, 55, 60 years. I've only been doing it for, let's see, 7 years maybe. And so we went over to Lake Sunapee, the shore, right where the beach is. They plow the parking lot. I had never been to Lake Sunapee before. It's a beautiful lake. Steven Tyler, the lead singer for Aerosmith, he owns a house on it. I think he's actually he loves New Hampshire. He spends a lot of time here. So that was the first question Kathy asked me last night. She said, "Are you going to have lunch with Steven Tyler?" I said, "I doubt it." And we went there. We met at 10:30. We were on the air by 11, and I was doing a Parks on the Air activation. So if you go online and type parksontheair.com, you can read all about it. Go to the website. And what happens is I am on the air, and I'm trying to get people to contact me. And I had the conditions, the solar conditions were pretty bad, and it wasn't that great. but I still got 17 contacts in about 35 minutes, which is not bad. I mean, it's when the conditions are good, you would have one a minute or one every less than a minute. And but I got 17, and we had some what we call DX, the letter D for dog, the letter X for X-ray, which means long distance or intercontinental. So in other words, I had one from France and one from either the Azores or Madeira Island. I haven't looked it up yet. But none over in Alex's way. I didn't have anybody. I don't think I had anybody west of the Mississippi today. But that could be that that band had not opened up yet. I know it's a very complex, but it's a wonderful hobby. If you're looking for a really interesting hobby, ham radio, pretty interesting. All right, let's get to the questions here. Will, can you seal my concrete basement floor? No. You can seal your concrete floor, but the efflorescence will probably still come through because almost every single sealer will still allow water, even small trace amounts of water to come through. I have a ton of columns on the website, Will, and I have quite a few videos about efflorescence. So I would recommend you go to the website, read my columns, watch my videos. The only way to deal with efflorescence, the only way you're going to stop it is you have to stop the water. And in your situation, that's almost impossible to do. Here's Glory. Radio or small amp with a headphone jack. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. I don't know what it means. The radio I was using today was my Elecraft KX3. So it's the Lexus or the Mercedes-Benz of low-powered outdoor radio. So look it up, Elecraft, Elecraft KX3. I'll type it in for you. You can go look it up. I also own a KX2. In the Altoid casing. Well, it's a Rockmite. There's no amplifier. Well, there's not an amplifier, it's just a transmitter. And yes, there's a little place for a headphone jack. So the radio, I mean, here's a similar one. This is a similar type. I mean, I won't take this one apart for you, but this is a ham radio. As crazy as that sounds. All right. This is a ham radio, and it's just like the Rockmite, it's only one band, one frequency. You cannot change frequencies. It's only one. Like this one is 7030, which is the QRP frequency. So here in this hole, I put in my Morse code key. Here is the headphone. I put in my headphones or earphones. Here's where the power is attached in the back. And of course, here's the antenna for the coax cable. So I could have this on the air. I don't know. After I get off the live stream, I might put this on the air here in my shack. Only takes a minute to get it on the air, and see if I can hear anybody on 7030. So imagine how small inside this case the circuit board is. I mean, you can see that it's the Altoids kin is almost the same size as this little radio. So you can see how it was not these guys, this is a Chinese radio. They just copied, I'm sure they copied Dave's circuit board and they put this little piece of crap out, but it works. But that's, the answer is yes. Headphone jack, Morse code key. You're on the air, buddy. All right. Let's see. Oh, there goes my daughter. My daughter's going somewhere. What a shame. I got home from the outing and my truck was filthy, so I washed it. So she's probably going to the store, I guess. But when she gets back, my truck's going to be filthy. Let me wave to her a second. I'll be right back. I got to make sure she gets out okay, because she might. She's on a little bit of ice, and she might be spinning there a little bit, But she knows how to put it into 4-wheel drive. But I want to see if she leaves. Right now, she's texting somebody. I can see her through the windshield looking down at her phone. Okay, Gloria, I'll be to you in just a second. Here she goes. Like she's getting ready to move now. She's got to put in 4-wheel drive. Put in 4-wheel drive. Just a second. I'll be right with you. I parked it in a place that's a little icy. There she goes. Now in 2-wheel drive. Put in it. Oh, we'll put in 4 to there, then to 2-wheel drive. Just no. All right. Yeah. She doesn't drive the truck that often, and you have to make sure when you use 4-wheel drive that you don't use 4-wheel drive on dry pavement. And she was in a little bit of ice there. She got off the ice and got onto dry pavement, then put it back in 2-wheel drive. All right. Gloria says, no, I'm saying you could make a small amp. That was popular when I was younger. I imagine you can. I'm not an electrical engineer. Dave Benson is. But understand this, as far as amplification, there are those of us in the hobby that don't want to amplify. We want to make contacts with only 5 watts or 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. I mean, that's a challenge for us. I mean, and I frequently do that. In other words, imagine, so if you have a nightlight in your home, like the simple old-fashioned night lights in a hallway, and it's got those tiny little bulbs, those bulbs are 4 watts. So imagine me doing radio, talking with somebody across the Atlantic Ocean with the same amount of power as just one of those tiny little light bulbs. That to me is thrilling. That's thrilling to be able to do that. So, all right. Here we go. Will says, water is heavy when you're moving 2 inches of ice off the driveway. Yeah, you got that right. I can't believe you had that much. Yeah, the ice is no different than water. And look, water weighs, okay, a cubic foot of water weighs 62.4 pounds, 62.4. So if you have 2 inches of ice, that's 1/6. So each 2-inch thick piece of ice by 1 foot square is about 10 pounds. So yeah, you bet it's heavy. It adds up. Will says, my brother-in-law in Massachusetts listens to the truckers at night. Do you talk with them? No, I do not. No, I don't. I don't. First of all, I primarily only do Morse code. So I'm not using a microphone and talking like I'm talking now. I don't like that in radio. The truckers at night, maybe they are HF. Maybe there are some truckers at night who are doing HF radio out of their trucks. And I know there are some that do that. I just wonder if the truckers that your brother-in-law is listening to, they might be still on their old-fashioned CB radios, which the CB band was our I'm sorry, the CB band was our it's either 12 meters, our 12-meter band. I can't remember because I didn't do much CB radio, but it's an HF band. But traditionally, the CB radios were limited in their power. They could only be 5 watts. Anyway, the answer to your question is no. I don't listen to them. And also, the other reason is I'm a morning person. So by now, I'm actually kind of surprised most of these nights that I'm still so animated. By 5 or 6 o'clock, I'm done. It's over. I'm running really, really low on brain juice. Whereas other people have just on a different schedule. Like Kathy, my wife, she's a night owl like her dad. So our schedules are off by about 3 hours. And So she could stay up and talk to the truckers, not me. Okay. What other questions do you have that I can answer for you? Because if I don't get any more questions, I'm probably going to call it a night. So I'm still having trouble with this wisdom tooth over here. It's caused me to have to bite my cheek, and I have to try to put a spacer in there so I don't bite my stupid cheek. I mean, I'm not having trouble with wisdom tooth coming out, but I don't know. Ever since then, I don't know what's going on in there, but I bite my cheek. If you have any question about anything about your home, it doesn't matter what it's like. Orville had great question about how to put in silicone caulk. That was a great question. That was really a great question. As far as my driveway, Will, just about all the ice is off. Just about everything. I'm almost done. Tomorrow, I just have to maybe once it, we'll get up to like 2:00 when the temperature gets up there again. I may go out there and chip a little bit more off. It's very thin. The places I do have ice, except around some of the edges, it's very thin. So I'm in good shape. Oh, okay, Lorene, you're out of here. Yeah, I'm going to probably get out of here shortly too. Thank you. Yeah, it was a great, it was not a bad live stream. We had some really good questions, really good ones. Even Will's question about efflorescence. Efflorescence, really misunderstood. A lot of people try to clean it using water and whatever. That just makes it worse. Just brush it away. Just brush it. Just brush it away, and be done with it. I hope you have a great weekend, Lorraine, if you're still here. I'm gonna have a pretty good weekend. I got a pretty big plumbing plans order yesterday from a man in New Jersey, and I promised him that I would work on it this weekend. So that means I've got to do it tomorrow. But he needs to get me the information. He promised he'd get it to me this afternoon. But not only do I have to draw his plumbing plan to show you how restrictive the building inspectors are in New Jersey, even though it's a remodel job, they're requiring him to do a gas line drawing, and I draw those as well. Those require a little bit more thought. I have to do quite a bit of calculations to get that right, because you have to know exactly where each thing's going to be in the house, how far apart they are, and how many BTU what the BTU input is of the appliance. And you have to know all that to be able to size the gas lines correctly. Yes, go Bengals. Go Bengals is right. I think it's going to be a good game. My son, who's a big Bengals fan, he predicts 31-17 Bengals. I don't know if I agree with that. I unplugged from football 2 years ago. I was done with it. As soon as the NFL went woke, I'm done with those guys. I'm done. And so it was just in the last 2 months that he got me to watch a Bengals game, because he said, "Dad, they're really doing well, man." He said they might make it to the playoffs. So I watched a game, and then I watched the game that put him into the playoffs, and then I watched the 2 playoff games. And holy tomato, did they pull it off? Woo, man! All I'm going to say this about the Bengals. I'll just say this. This is a really interesting, I think you might find this interesting. I never did any business travel when I was a contractor. I just stayed in Cincinnati with my nose to the grindstone. As soon as I started this Ask the Builder thing, all of a sudden I started to travel quite a bit. And I remember on a long distance flight going to California from Ohio, I was reading one of the magazines in the plane. You know how they have the stupid plane magazines. And there was an interview. I can't remember who it was, but it was a very, very famous basketball guy. And I'm not a basketball fan. So I don't think it was Shaquille O'Neal. I don't think it was Michael Jordan. Somebody else. Doesn't matter. And one of the, I don't know that I'm going to phrase the question right, but the person who was writing the article was asking the person, I can't even phrase it right. I can't even think of how to phrase this question, but it was about winning. It was just about winning a game. or winning the championship, like the NBA championship. And this player, and I used to play sports when I was in high school and college. And I was a pretty intense player. And I really this answer was amazing. What the person said was, he said, everybody, and remember, he's talking at the professional level. All right, that professional level, I mean, it's a lot different than down here at high school level. But he said, everybody wants to win. Meaning all of the players that are playing in the NBA, they all want to win the NBA championship. But only one team wins. He said, the issue is not everyone knows how to win. Do you understand that? You know what that means? I mean, do you know how to win? Big difference. There's a huge difference in knowing how to win versus wanting to win. And if you want to know how to win, look at the teams. Look at the teams that have done really well for long periods of time. And you may hate the New England Patriots. I don't care. But let's just talk the Patriots. And I only became a Patriots fan when I moved up here, and I moved up here just right after they really started winning. But I understand football, and the one thing I saw right away was that the Patriots, they knew how to win, and what that meant was the first premise is everybody on the team has got to be selfless. Do you understand that? Selfless. Meaning each member of the team puts more importance on the other players than himself. So in other words, you don't have any hotshot players. You don't have any blabbermouths. You don't have any prima donnas. Those kind of players are toxic. They're radioactive, and they're just toxic as can be, and they ruin a team. Patriots didn't have any of those. Right now, the Bengals remind me. The Bengals used to have those kind of players, like Chad Johnson. I can name a few in the past, and the coaches didn't get rid of them. They're just toxic. They just spoil the whole team. Right now, the current Bengals team, they remind me of the Patriots when the Patriots started to win all those Super Bowls. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Bengals over the next few years. Really going to be really interesting to see. So you got to know how to win. And that's true in everything. For example, like right now, I'm in a battle. I just started in this battle with my homeowners association where I live. And I sent an email this morning. I really didn't want to have to send it, but I know how to win this battle. And I put a shot across the bow. Maybe it just went about 12 inches over the railing. I mean, they'll see, and they know I mean business. They know they know that when I say something, that I'm going to do it. And so I said some things in this email, and if they and what happened is, unfortunately, they've kind of painted themselves into a corner. I don't think they can back away from the situation they're in right now, the board, and that means I'm going to have to, in 2 weeks, just kind of crush them. Oh well, it is what it is. All right, I'm going to go. No more questions. Thanks for being here today. Go Bengals. Alex, if you're around, I think you're probably back to work. Good for you. You need to stuff your pockets with cash out there. Monday will be a really interesting day. I sure as hell hope Alex can carve out some time to be here on Monday, because one of us is going to be really happy and the other one's going to be pretty sad. And by the live stream, actually what may happen is I may, if I lose the bet, I think the photo that I'm going to have for the live stream is I'm going to take a screenshot of me placing the order for the pecan days for Alex. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thanks for being here today. I had a good time. We're going to have a really great day here in New Hampshire tomorrow, nice and warm. Sunday, it's going to get back to regular cold weather, Sunday and Monday. And anyway, um, anyway, that is a crutch word for me. I hope you have a great weekend. I really do. And if you've not subscribed to my newsletter, I highly recommend you do. It's free. Right there on the homepage of askthebuilder.com. Remember, if you ever have any questions, just go to the website and use the search engine. For example, earlier, gosh, I forget who asked me now. It's so many chats. It was, there we go. It was Wayne. Wayne asked, how would you paint an aluminum canopy over a door? So all he would have had to do, if he wouldn't have been here today, is he would have gone to askthebuilder.com and in the search engine, just type in 2 words. He wants to paint. And what does he want to paint? Aluminum. So he would type in paint, aluminum. Boom, magic happens. That's how you should use the search engine really anywhere. Don't type some giant long sentence. Just type in 2 words. For example, you could type in paint aluminum or roof leak or vent attic or clogged toilet or best countertop or leaky faucet. You know, it's just, you get the idea. 2 words. And then that gives you back a pretty big list of things that come back. And then once you look at all the headlines, you might see exactly what you want, or you can narrow the search down and maybe type in a 3rd word. So that's the proper way to use a search engine. A lot of people don't know how to use search engines, I found out. They don't understand it. They don't understand it. All right, let's see here. Jason got here just at the last minute. Dude, I'm just getting ready to get out of here. I hope your day at work was good. You missed all the trash talk between myself and Alex. I'm going to ask this. So, Jason, who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl on Sunday? You might not care. Yeah, work doesn't need. I know. Hey, man, I used to be there. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that's kind of gross, but I got to get those Altoids back there in my cheek. So if you had to pick a team on Sunday, are you going with the Bengals or the Rams? Will's right. I should have had on an orange shirt. What is wrong with me? Oh, well. Awesome. Good. I think the Bengals are America's sweetheart team for this game. We shall see. Not that it'll do any good. I think the Bengals are going to pull it off. Joe Burrow, he's a very cool young kid. He's got really great composure, and he's just going to get better and better as long as he stays healthy. And as long as the Bengals, the management and coaching gives him a great front line, give him a great O-line. Okay, I'm going to go. Thanks for being here. Miami Dolphins fan. Okay, that's nothing wrong with that. All those years ago with Don Shula, they had a great team. What was his name? What was that fullback's name? Zonk or Larry Zonka? Some kind of Polish name, I think. Dude, I was just about ready to say goodnight, and look who shows up. No, I'll stick around. I'll stick around now. I'll stay. But you got to keep asking questions. You and Jason, Larry Zonka. That's it. Yeah, Larry Zonka. He was a pretty tough guy. He was a tough football player. So what's the word, Steve? How's everything over in flipping London tonight? We had a pretty good stream. Lorene had to leave early. And but she was here listening in. I know you're typing. I am. I don't know why there's a delay. I don't. When I type something, and yeah, I think he's going down, man. I think he's going down. I'm not kidding. Um, I saw a video clip of him last night talking in his parliament or whatever they call it. I mean, he's bad mouthing his flipping citizens. I think he just is totally out of touch with his citizens. I mean, I'm serious. It's like he doesn't understand what's in play. Yeah, he's an idiot. And I mean, just this is. Let me tell you something. I mean, when you think about what's going on in Canada right now, and this actually has to do with home improvement. All right, this is not political. If you're watching right now and you think I'm jumping off into politics, you're not. I'm not. So, Canada, and for all I know, England, Britain, where you are, Steve, maybe the rest of the world, what I call the developed world. All right, so England, France, Switzerland, Israel, even some of Russia, a lot of the countries in South America. Anyway, trucks. we got rid of, we killed it. What happened here in America, I used to talk about this on the train. This is really interesting. You'll find this interesting. So if you look at American history, the railroad just ruled the flippin' roost here in America for 100 years, from like 1850 until 1955. And then it was flipping curtains. Two things happened here in America in the 1950s, late 1950s. You know what they were? Jet aircraft, jets, I mean, commercial jet airliners, and the interstate highway system. That was it. That was the flipping death knell for the railroads. It was over. Game over. And the trucking industry took over. The trucking industry sucked a lot of the different type of trade that the trains and some of the freight that the trains used to take. And so now, what better way? Like, you want to bring a country to its knees? Just get the truckers pissed off. Just get them pissed off. Like, no more lumber for you. We're done. No more faucets. No more kitchen cabinets. No more carpeting. No more shingles. Screw you. We're not doing it anymore. That's what you see happening right now. It's starting to happen here in the United States too. Because the truckers, they understand that they've got the power. And it was really kind of cool. Steve, did you see, I don't know if your wife saw this or if you saw this. It was, I'm going to guess it was a week ago. Once that protest started in Ottawa, up in Canada, their capital, the mayor or Trudeau or whoever said, no problem. Just go call all the flipping wrecking companies and tow the trucks out of the way. And they didn't care about the cost. They would pay the towing companies $10,000 a truck to tow them, whatever. All the trucking companies said, we can't come in. Our trucks are broke down, or we've got COVID, or whatever. I mean, the towing companies basically told Trudeau, bite me. See how pissed off he's made those people? Flipping idiots, man. I'm telling you, I've said this for years. I was the leader of the New Hampshire Tea Party back, 12 years ago. Well, the Central New Hampshire chapter. And I kept saying at all the meetings because people would ask me, well, when are things going to change? When are things going to change? I said, well, I'll tell you when it's going to change. Things are not going to change until enough people feel enough pain. And finally, things will change. And so the truckers, they've had it. They're done. They're done. And Trudeau and the police up there are just making it worse, trying to take away their fuel, trying to take away their firewood. Are you kidding me? Like, they just don't get it. That Trudeau doesn't get it. Yeah, my family might have been. Yeah, Steve, I'll tell you what, especially after I'm done with the live stream, I'm going to send you an email that I sent to my HOA this morning. Wait till you read the email. Then you'll know that one of my ancestors was on the flipping ship throwing the tea in the harbor. It is not a coincidence. You have to read that book, Plandemic. You got to read that book. I put a link into it not too long ago. Got to read the book by Mickey Willis, Plandemic. Get that book, man. Read it. It's a really thin book. It's you have no. Here's the bottom line. And I actually was reading this on Wednesday. The reason I didn't do a live stream on Wednesday, I had to drive Kathy to church. So I sat in the parking lot. It was a nice sunny day and read part of this book. So it's a very short book, and I've already seen the videos online. But what I really didn't realize, because they didn't cover it so much in the video, is that we have been played. I mean, we collectively, pretty much all around the world, we've been played pretty badly for the past 70, 80 years. I mean, like, I don't want to say I had this mixture of emotion on Wednesday. It was a little bit of anger mixed with frustration, but then I tempered it, thinking, well, you know what, this is. Because remember, over the past 6-9 months, I've read Game of Thrones. I read the entire 5-book series. And if you have not read the Game of Thrones, I'm just telling you, just read book 1. All you have to do is read book 1. And actually, let me get you a short video clip to watch. I want you just to watch. I have it on my website. And this is the most powerful quote in the entire book series. It's said really early in the book. It's said pretty early in the book 1, maybe about halfway through. I don't know, a third of the way through. And something I don't want to be a spoiler, but something happened not too long after this video clip in the movie and in the book. And I was stunned. I was like, holy tomato, this is going to be a good book series. So go to that link and go watch that short 3-minute video and listen and stay with it all the way to the end. And listen to what Queen Cersei says to Lord Stark. Because Steve, this is what's in play. This is exactly what's in play. It's such a powerful line. I put it on the front of my business card. So it's right there at the bottom. I know it's out of focus. But anyway, I don't want you to see it so much. I want you to hear it. But that is what's in play. And unfortunately, it has been in play for thousands of years. So, but what the truckers are doing, they're flexing their muscle, and they're going to bring Canada to its knees. They are. I mean, you hear me out. They're going to bring Canada to its knees, and it's going to start spreading around the world. The truckers got it figured out, man. The truckers, because it's like stepping on our air hose. Like, imagine you're a diver that has like the air hose from the boat. If somebody's up on a boat stepping on the air hose, standing on it, not a good thing. Don't piss off the truckers, man. Yes, we are not going to let you down, Steve. We are not going to let you down, man. It boggles my mind too. But here's why. That's why I want you to read the Plandemic book. It's very short, and it really gets good, like the second half of the book. Here's what you need to know, Steve, and this has been happening in the UK. It's all been orchestrated from the world leaders. They have been doing this for decades, working together to keep their boots on our throat. And the propaganda that they're doing. I mean, we had an operation going on here in America called Operation Mockingbird. It's undeniable. The CIA admitted to it. The CIA infiltrated our mainstream media back in the 50s and 60s. They infiltrated the universities and so the CIA, it's basically a lot like what there was a movie that Robert Redford was in. Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of that movie, where he was actually working for the CIA, and he found out that there was a CIA within the CIA, a secret CIA. And the CIA has basically been running the show with propaganda. Everything that was on the news and in the newspapers and the magazines, propaganda, much of it, to sway public opinion about any issue. I have not watched the Game of Thrones on TV. My son has told me to watch the whole series now that I finished the books. But I understand that the last season of Game of Thrones went off the rails because of the whole. It just kind of went off the rails. So I don't know. I may watch some of. I've watched some of the episodes on YouTube. But the books are pretty good. If you've not read the books, I highly recommend it. But the point is, the reason I'm talking to you, I want you to read just book 1 of the Game of Thrones, and that tells you all you need to know about what's happening in your town. Well, in your HOA, like I'm in, we have a Game of Thrones happening in our HOA right now. A Game of Thrones, just like a game of chess. That's what it is. We have a Game of Thrones happening in our HOA. It's happening in my town in Meredith. It's happening in Belknap County, where I live. It's happening in the state of New Hampshire. It's happening at the federal level. It's happening all over the UK, where Steve lives, the same exact way. So you need to read this book to understand what is happening all around you. And it's driven by just 3 things. Shouldn't surprise you what they are. Power, money, and sex. That's it. Power, money, and sex. Yeah, that's what I heard. The last season was just horrible. Yeah, I know. I don't know that George is going to finish those 2 books. He may have run out of gas. And what I'm afraid of is that his last 2 books are not going to be that good. And that's coming from me, a professional writer. All right. So I've been a professional writer now for 28 years, and I'm here to tell you, you can run out of gas. And George's, the problem with George, if you listen to some of his interviews, I've watched a few of his interviews on YouTube. When he wrote, it's the same old thing. Let's go back 60, 70 years ago, when J.D. Salinger here in America wrote, how come I can't think of the name of the flipping book? Oh my gosh. You know what I'm talking about. J.D. Salinger's famous book. Come on. Anyway, do you think that he ever thought that he was going to be worth 50 or 100 million bucks? Catcher in the Rye. Exactly. Do you think when he was writing the book, this book's going to make me a multi-millionaire? No. I'm telling you, if I would have been a reporter, and if he would have accepted an interview, because he eventually became a recluse, he lived not too far from me, right over. He only lived about 50 miles away. He lived over in Vermont. So George R.R. Martin, who wrote Game of Thrones, same thing. He just was a good writer, and he's writing this. He just came up with this great idea. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't think he's as wealthy as what's her name, who did Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, but George R.R. Martin's not hurting. So when you make that kind of life-changing money, it can really it can lower the heat in the a lot, on like turning the valve down on your motivation to get stuff done. So it's going to be really interesting to see if he can maintain the creative quality in the next 2 books. All right, so let's see here. I got to catch up. Steve, it totally blows my flipping mind that people are not getting it, but it's because of the propaganda. But here's what I don't understand. This is actually worth, maybe this is our next Zoom call. How is it that you and I and millions of others, there are millions of others who have woken up, who get it. How is it that we have been able to wake up, even though we're surrounded by all of the same propaganda? That's a really interesting question. Let me get caught up. Yeah, I know. Today's threatening with arrest, losing the job. Give me a break. Right. Of course there's so much voter fraud here in America. That Dinesh D'Souza guy's coming out with a really big movie. He captured it all on flipping tape, on surveillance tapes. I don't know how in the world he got access to these things. Wait till you see this movie about voter fraud in the 2020 election. You're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. Right. Well, the mainstream media, it's because they've been infiltrated. In other words, understand this. I've talked about this before. I've been elected to public office twice. Here in America, I don't know what it is. It used to be. I don't know what it is now. But just about every state, even every city, when you're sworn into office, I had to raise my right hand and say, blah, 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 blah. I swear to protect and defend the U.S. Constitution and the Constitution of the state of Ohio. That's what I swore to at the time. Against all foreign and domestic enemies. You swear that oath. All right, well, most people don't think about that. It just kind of goes right over their head. I mean, the average citizen. So let's talk about it here for a second. So what's a foreign enemy? And if a foreign enemy came into your country and overtook your country, what would happen? That's what you need to understand. What would happen? So let's see here. If I don't think it would be like what the Romans did. The Romans kind of figured it out, man. The Romans would take over a country, but they would kind of leave in place that local country's governing system, and they just skimmed off the money and skimmed off some of the resources. But like if China, well, let's put it this way. If Germany would have won World War II, do you think Steve would be speaking English right now? Steve would be typing German. There would be no parliament in England. They would do whatever they do in Germany. All right, so a foreign enemy, they come in, they conquer you, and they rape and they pillage, and then they put in their system, and they get rid of your system, whatever it was. So what's a domestic enemy? Oh, it's somebody that's going to do the same thing, but it just so happens they live in flipping America. They're already here. So we have millions of domestic enemies in the United States right now, millions of them. I don't know how many are in England, probably a couple million. All right, let me get caught up. Yeah, Kathy, you and Kathy need to get together about the tunnel thing. The tunnels are real. Yeah, yeah. No, I know all about the adrenochrome. There's a book I just read. Kathy was yelling at me the other day on the way home from church because she says I don't believe her all the time. She's been telling me this for a couple of years. I go to my high school reunion and I meet up with a guy I had not seen in, I don't know, 40, 50 years. He turns out we think alike. He's like a carbon copy of Kathy. We start talking and he goes, "Have you read the book about the Franklin cover up?" Like, what? And so I go, "No, I have not." He says, "You need to read it. You need to read this book." So it was a book about what happened back in the 1980s in the state of Nebraska. And there was the state was completely corrupt, all kinds of child trafficking, child sacrifice is real. It's horrible. So here in America, we go back 40, 50 years ago, and we used to have a thing on kids would go missing. And in this book, they talked about how they would kidnap kids. Like this one kid was just doing his paper route one day. I mean, when I read that book, I kind of sucked my breath in because I thought, shit, that could have been me. Because here I am, 10, 11 years old, walking down Riddle Road, carefree. Someone could have just grabbed me and I would have been gone. Well, here in America, back 30, 40 years ago, whatever it was, all these missing kids, they used to put their photographs on the milk cartons. So every day in our refrigerator, there's a new kid's face. A lot of them they never found. Well, I think I know where they went. And in this book, they detail what they did. This is how sick these people are. So they sacrifice it. There's cannibalization, and then whatever parts, they grind it up into a powder. So that's why can't find any bone fragments, can't find any teeth, no dental records. I know. You think I'm wearing a flippin' tin hat? This stuff's real. German, look at you. That's hilarious. Yeah, the adrenochrome. And to get the best adrenochrome, you have to torture the kids to get their blood pressure up. So when somebody's being tortured, the adrenochrome, that enzyme or whatever, spikes. So they get it right to a peak and then boom. And then they start drinking. I know it sounds crazy. People think I'm nuts. This stuff is true, man. This stuff is true. Just like it's true. I'm just telling it's true. Not a doubt in my flipping mind. Okay. I am going to get out of here. I really went off the deep end here at the end, but that's okay. We need to go off every now and then. We need to push the envelope. And read Plandemic by Mickey Willis. Read that. It's a very small book. It's only about that thick. It's not very big. Easy to read. Exactly. How many people go missing? There's no uproar about it. Exactly. Well, that's not their narrative. They don't want people to, the people at the top, they don't want to know that people are missing. And since they control the media over here in America, so it's horrible. Okay, Oak Grove, you have a good weekend too. I am going to be a little busy tomorrow. If my buddy Anthony in New Jersey has got his information to me in the morning, I'm going to be drawing a gas line drawing and I'm going to be doing a plumbing isometric drawing. All right, so I got to go because I got to return that phone call. My buddy Jim just texted me. Steve, Yeah, glad you got in. I was just about ready to hang it up, so I'm glad you got here. Happy to stay on, talk with you. You have a great weekend. Sunday will be a fun day. My son's going to be up here. Then we'll watch the Super Bowl. He'll stay overnight. So tomorrow, that also means I have to write my weekly column tomorrow. So I don't have to do it on Monday morning. So I'll be busy tomorrow. Tomorrow's a work day. Have a great weekend, Steve, Jason, Will, Wayne, if you're still here. I know Alex is not here. Go Bengals is all I can say. Go Bengals. Who dey? Who dey? Who they think going to beat them Bengals, right? I used to chant that back 35 years ago, when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl. All right, I'm Tim Carter. You've been watching Ask the Builder. And thanks for being here. Spread the good word about the live stream.